We all know about Penn State. Reputation, gone. We don't know for how long. This is what I call in ethics the moral spiral. One issue leads to another, and at the time you make the decision, you don't even know how many spirals are left, do you? And what's going to happen. And innocent people are affected. It's like Arthur Anderson. It's like Enron. Innocent people pay the price of the few who made a decision not to or to do something or whatever. Because you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. A reputation is a reflection of the values you hold dear. In the last 2 days, and I brought them so I can quote exactly. This is in the Chicago Tribune this Sunday. This is from the University of Illinois Board of Trustees Chairman Christopher Kennedy. We don't want any more ethical issues associated with the university. We get public money and we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And this was in a closed session to discuss a multi-million-dollar contract that raised conflict of interest concerns. This is in the perspective section of the Chicago Tribune. Then this was yesterday, the U of I Law School. Did you see this? The American Bar Association has fined the University Law School $250,000 and publicly censured it Tuesday for publishing false admission data. Along with the fine, the school is also required to undergo independent compliance monitoring for 2 years. Now, let's think moral spiral. Might students think twice about going to the U of I Law School, yes or no? Oh, yeah. I've got a friend of mine who's got a neighbor whose son was going to go to Penn State next year. Guess where he's not going? See, we don't even know sometimes the consequences of choices and behavior. And now, and I thought this was kind of cute. Well, not cute, but interesting. In addition, Penn State must enter into an integrity agreement and create a chief compliance officer position. Here's my first question. You don't have one? Well, there's part of the problem. Now they're going to have one. I mean, you see, ethics is only proactive. There's no such thing as reactive ethics. Reactive ethics is compliance. And I have an ongoing, interesting discussion with my compliance professionals because they're not the same. Would you agree? Compliance and ethics is not the same. You can be compliant and not ethical as blazes. Agreed? Absolutely. So I posted this on my LinkedIn groups yesterday, and I said, why not a chief ethics officer at Penn State? And a number of them said, are you applying? I go, no. But it is interesting, we look at reputation because reputation is based on these questions. Are you ready? What do you want to be known for? Where are you in the process now? What else do you need to learn or do to have a good reputation? And how will you know when you get there? And as I looked on the study of what Noel Levitz did about, what the issues are about first-year students and et cetera, it was cost, financials, academic, reputation. But yet, number 5 was referrals from friends and family. Is that relationship building? Yes or no? What's your best advertising for your institutions? Tell me, what's your best advertising? Word of mouth. What's your worst advertising? Hello, this isn't rocket science. It's about how we establish those relationships. It's about going to the schools. It's about having open houses. I mean, Nito does a great job at High Point, and I thanked him the other day for opening for me. But but you go to High Point, it's like a band's waiting for you, to come into High Point. I mean, look what he's done there. I mean, it's the process of establishing that type of relationship. Now, but relationships are based on what Dr. Demeter Renshaw at Loyola University talks about, 4 T's. 4 T's. The first T is trust. If I don't trust you, why should I send my kid to your university or college? Agreed? I don't trust. You haven't got a marriage without trust. You haven't got a friendship without trust. You and I are out of business without trust. Basic building block. Number two, what's the personal touch you bring to your business? What's your value added? What do you bring to the table? And I think we all need to have a personal mission statement. And the personal mission statement should ask these two questions. What's my life all about, and how do I intend to go about attaining it? You got yourself a personal mission statement. What's your life all about? If you're going to spend 76,900 hours of your life at work, shouldn't you do something you enjoy? This is not a dress rehearsal. What's your life all about, and how do you intend to go about attaining it? I was sharing that with a corporate group a couple of weeks ago, and a guy came up to me afterward and he said, well, you know, I'm 48 years old. I want to go on for my degree, but I'll be 52 when I get done. I said, how old will you be in 4 years if you don't go on for your degree? And he said, well, you're kind of a smartass, aren't you? I mean, hey! If you're going to spend that amount of time, what do you want to do with it? It's the process. And aren't your institutions much like corporate America? Here's my analogy. This is the first time in American history there are 4 generations in the workplace at the same time. Boomers can't afford to retire. You got the millennials, X and Y. And in my classes that I teach at Elgin Community College, when I teach an ethics course, my last ethics course was 24 students. 4 were under the age of 20. My oldest student was 60. And they were displaced workers going back to the community college. Nursing students needed an ethics requirement. But what an interesting dynamic, because when I went to that school, there were only 18-year-olds and we were old. That was the norm. See the shift. Your institutions are mirroring corporate America with the number of generations that are going to your institutions. Agreed? Which means there are different needs and wants as we deal with those different statuses of students, so to speak. So it's important that we kind of keep that, okay? Trust, touch. Number 3, it takes time to develop relationships. The goodwill that you do with your institutions and your community pays off big time. I pity the organization that doesn't understand that goodwill brings in business. And number 4 is talk, although this could be a double-edged sword, and I think I can prove it to you. How many of you have ever had a speech course, high school or college? Raise your hands. Great. How many of you have ever had a listening course? So we got, what? Hundreds of people in this room, and those 3 will listen to you. You know, and when my wife wants to get to me, and she does with great regularity, she says, why don't you treat me like you do the dog? Now, how many of you have dogs? Okay, when you go home, that dog will run up to you, did you miss Daddy while he was in Chicago? And a human being walks in, hey, babe, how you doing? Daddy loves you so, you know. And I got to tell you, there are days I prefer the dog. You know, you do what I tell you, unconditional love, one more whiz, doggy heaven. I mean, hey! But isn't this true? We are more charitable, understanding, and compassionate, and listen more to prospective students, family members, strangers, colleagues, visitors, than at times are due to our own family members or significant others. Is that not true? And when one area of your life is out of balance, it's all out of balance. Because it affects the workplace and the home and can challenge values, which can challenge relationships. The 4 T's. Now, you want to talk about retention? Guess which one of those 4 will keep your retention rates high? Trust, touch, time, or talk? Quickly, I have other sessions this afternoon. We have to move this along. It's always trust, right? A student will transfer because they don't trust. It's all about trust. Whether it's faculty or whatever it is, it's a trust issue. Faculty will leave because they have a perception that can't be. It's a trust issue. See, perceptions determine attitudes, attitudes determine behavior. And perceptions are neither right nor wrong, they just are. So if I take and I've taken plenty of tours on campus because I've had 2 kids go to college, and wait till I tell you that story, but you know, about how we were greeted and what it looked like, and you know, how the floors looked, and here's the dorm, and we have 4 bunk beds in this little closet, and you know, we have I mean, what do I care? I'm not going. Get in there. That's what you're here for, study, I don't care. It's that whole process of perception. And perception is neither right nor wrong, they just are. They just are, but they do affect our attitudes, agreed? And they affect people's buying decisions.